Hello, Sani Bonani. Welcome to this lesson. Today we are doing calculus and we're just going to do derivatives. And when we say derivatives, we're going to do just one rule which we learned for grade 12. Alright, so firstly we need to know the symbols for derivative. So sometimes you'll be given a thing like this, f prime x. That means find derivative. Or you might have dy by dx, or you might have capital dx. Okay, so you'll have different notations for finding derivative, and sometimes for volume we will just say volume, and then when we find the derivative we're going to say v prime, which means find the derivative of volume. Alright, so what is the first and the only basic rule that we learn in grade 12? We learn the rule that, let's take an example. First let us understand a few things about this example. Now this 5 is called numerical coefficient. And that 3 is called a power or index or exponent. So if you're finding derivative, so say you said f prime x is equal to the index times the numerical coefficient, right? It will be the index times the numerical coefficient. Then you write down the base, and then it will be index minus 1, always index minus 1. So f prime x will be index times the numerical coefficient, then write down the base, and then index minus 1. So there's 3 steps. That will become step 1, that will become step 2, and that will become step 3. So if we do that, if we take this example here, that is the question, then f prime x is equal to index times numerical coefficient. 3 times 5 will give you 15. Next step, write down the base. The base is x. X is the base. Write down the base. Then index minus 1. 3 minus 1. I'm just going to do that step by step. So your final answer is 15x squared. Alright, so let's just call this number 1. Let's do another example. Number 2. F of x is equal to, and this time what we're going to do, suppose you had 15x squared minus 3x plus 2. Now you got 3 terms, so you must differentiate each term. So if you take this one, you use that rule first on this part here, on this part. 2 times 15 will give you 30. Step 1. Step 2, write down the base, x. I wrote it down. Then index minus 1. 2 minus 1 will give you 1. Now, look at this part. Now we look at this part. What is the index here? The index here is 1. 1 times minus 3 will give you minus 3. Alright, sorry. This is supposed to be f prime x is equal to. That's your question, that's your answer. 1 times minus 3 is minus 3. That's step 1. Step 2, write down the base. And then index minus 1. Now 1 minus 1 will give you 0. So this is actually 30x minus 3. Now this x to the 0 is 1. So 3 times 1 will give you 3. So I'll just do it on the side. You must understand that x to the 0 is 1. So 3x to the 0 really means 3 times x to the 0. So that will be 3 times 1, which is 3. So in the future, we are not going to write x to the 0. We know it is 1, so 3 times 1 will be 3. So wherever there's x to the 0, we're not going to write it down because we know that it will become this number here, whatever it is. Alright, so that was 2 simple examples on applying the simple rule of derivatives. But now, life is not always going to be so easy. So in the next part, I'm now going to show you that you need to know certain basics before you do this simple, apply this simple rule. So in part 2 now, in the next part, I'm going to show you the basics that you must have in your mind before you can start applying the rule like this.